Now is the time.
Forever? Tangent. Hold.
Halt.
Hashtag always MGM.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Calm down. AK haters.
But what if it could?
Behold the majesty of the Sistine Ceiling.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
Ha! What a cute ending.
Aloha and
Don't Dillo it.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are here on January the 23rd, 2025. No, it's well before January 23rd, 2025.
Listen, this is like, we're kicking off 2025 so well, doing episodes in advance, not the night before. This is very unlike us. And pretty much every episode this month is planned ahead of time. Weird.
But to note that it is January 23rd, 2025, as this podcast drops, which means it is the podcast before Jen's birthday.
Nope. Don't need to talk about that.
Jen, on the 27th, you turn the age of 43.
Uh-huh.
You're
It's
one away
almost
from
my turn.
forever 44.
Whatever. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, you feeling great? You feeling good about it?
Feels great.
All right,
Yeah.
great. All right,
There was a recent discussion between Mr. Snidillo and I, and he said something about 40. And I was like, you do realize on my next birthday, I will be 43. And he's like, wait, what? What? Like, right. We're past
Welcome
that.
to it.
It's fine.
Our grandmother used to say she was 43 for many, 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 many years.
Oh, was that the number?
That was
I
the
do
number.
recall
Which
it
is
being
where,
maybe 40.
that is partly where Forever 44 came from. It's kind of
that's
a play on that.
That's right. I do recall
So.
that. Yeah.
But enough with the tangents. We don't want to keep our guests waiting. You don't want to talk about your birthday anymore.
Absolutely not. No.
So let's get right to it. We are weeks away from my first ever trip to Disneyland.
It's happening.
It's
It's
happening.
happening.
There's reservations made. There's flights that are booked, which I still dig 6 weeks before, but that's fine.
That's fine.
There's plenty of time.
That's so much time. That's way more than you would do for Disney World. So, I mean, you're already ahead of the game.
So in the lead up and all, I've been putting things out on social media, asking for advice. But of course, in terms of the podcasting, we could not possibly have an episode discussing my trip to Disneyland before I go,
Right.
without bringing in these two guests to discuss what I should do. I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't want to do anything wrong, and I don't want to mess it up.
It's change. It's change.
It's change.
Yeah.
It's what I forgot to go see the dragon underneath the castle in Disneyland Paris. I don't want to make any of those mistakes.
Yeah, you can't do that. Don't screw it up.
So I'm gonna be thinking, don't screw it up. So now here, to ease my stress and my worry and my tension,
Yeah.
we needed a wave of positivity,
Yes.
a wave of Disney positivity.
Yeah.
And who better to do that on this episode of Theme Park Thursday here today but the hosts of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast? It's Tom. It's Michelle. Here they are. Hello. Yes.
Thanks for inviting us. So good to see you guys.
Good to see you guys. And, we didn't even mention in that very long-winded intro that we finally got to see you in person. I give you real hugs, and it was fantastic.
Just 6 years in the making, but
Yeah,
it
it's
happened.
It was counting.
It happened.
Yes,
It was all
whatever.
good. Boy, it was
It was worth the wait.
definitely. And looking forward to more of those, hopefully in the very near future, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Definitely. I mean, I think that was on my list of things to lead in with as well. I have a couple of small things to discuss before we get into Disneyland.
Mhm.
But that day in Epcot, the blazing hot Saturday and food and wine that it was, as is normal, I feel like we got to spend a little time, especially outside the Mexico Pavilion. Had a couple of drinks, a couple of beverages, which has been years in the making, as we said, and exactly as when you have that kind of lead up, it's exactly as you want it to go. It was perfection.
That was actually our thought too. It's like, you guys are everything that you seem like when we listen to you every week, when we interact with you on social media for all these years.
Yeah.
That was exactly our feeling on it. We owe you a beer. You bought us a beer, Frank. We owe you a beer. But
like
it was crowded. It was hot. People were doing their different things, but I think, we were able to get together and have some, it was limited, but it was some good time, good quality time with you all.
Yeah. I mean, we've always felt like we've been in person with you in the past. It was so weird to think we hadn't been.
Yeah.
And it just felt so natural and so genuine to get together with you. So it was awesome.
Yeah,
really
no,
good.
it was so good. And it was probably, I felt like in September it was hotter than it was in August, but I do think that was just a really weird type of heat that day that we were all experiencing.
It was really sticky that day
Oh
for
my
whatever.
God.
I mean, and that's speaking from Florida. It was really sticky for Florida that day.
Exactly. But whatever, I'll give you guys more sweaty hugs anytime. So,
Love it.
So, I mean, there's three things, I guess. I thought there was going to be two things to talk about, but three things. So I do want to talk
there might
about
be
the pod-
5 by the end of
might
it.
be- Who knows? I think since
Hyperion Adventures Podcast 5. Well,
Yeah.
that's it could be
like 10
that.
things.
Tom, when did you and Michelle both, you can chime in, but especially Tom, because I feel like I just see your face every morning. When did you start doing the Hyperion Positivity mornings? I feel like they really brighten up the day here.
Well, I'm glad that I'm accomplishing that. I started that in, I think it was late July. That was when I started doing that. And just wanted to do something to kind of expand it, get that positivity out there. Started off like, you know what? I'm just going to go on there and I'm just going to come on most mornings and give 5 or 10 minutes of just, sharing that positivity. And now it's turned into like where I can't keep it under 20 minutes. And I'm preparing for it for an hour every morning. I don't know. It's
I'm up at
insane,
4
but-
a.m. I have an agenda.
Yeah. But it's been great. We have a great crew that chimes in with us regularly in the morning. Sometimes Michelle made a cameo this morning. Sometimes she'll stop by and we just talk about whatever's going on, Disney, whatever's going on the day, and just try and get everybody's day started in a bright, smiley, positive way.
Yeah, and he does do a lot of great research. He really does put a lot of time and effort into it. So it is, pretty magical that he does that. And I know he's doing this also in prep that we may do live shows.
Maybe following your lead and eventually doing some live shows.
No, it's awesome and it's very needed. You need more positivity on the internet these days and on all the apps.
100%.
Yes.
In all the places.
Yes.
Recently, as you discussed on a recent episode, you spent some time in the Polynesian Tower. Jen and I have had feelings for a long time throughout the construction process.
A couple of
As we
feelings.
see all the tours that are on the TikToks and all the places. But I want the positivity. I want to have my feelings changed. I'm going to the source of the positivity to sway me and tell me all the things about the Polynesian Tower and your experiences. You can keep it brief and direct everyone to your.
Can
episode.
we really though? Don't you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
Michelle, you want to lead us in?
I mean, I have to say, we loved it. I think I had similar reservations from things that I had been previewing beforehand before getting there. But once we got there and really saw it, we're immersed in it, that all melted away and really loved it. There are differences about it, but that doesn't make it bad. It just makes there's some other enrichments there that the OG part of the resort doesn't have, and vice versa. And so I think it provides that additional type of experience for people.
I like it.
So we discussed this on the episode. Like back for many, many years, we were visiting Hawaii at least once, couple times, 2-3 times a year sometimes, because my son actually lived in Hawaii. So I would get out there, and sometimes just myself to visit him. Sometimes Michelle would come with us. We stayed at many great resorts when we would visit Hawaii. And when we got into that building, it very much felt like we were back in Hawaii. That's kind of what the vibe we got. Whether you want to say it's fully Polynesian, it feels more Hawaiian, I would say that, which is, obviously a Polynesian island. Whereas maybe the rest of the resort feels more kind of a mix of different Polynesian islands. This feels very Hawaiian to me. As far as the outside, I could see where people kind of get the impression of it from a view from far away and say it's kind of bland, it's kind of plain. I think there's some nuance there as you get closer that aren't captured from views from across Seven Seas Lagoon or captured from a photo on the internet that you can really take from the exterior of it. But where it really shines is in the interior. I mean, what they've done with the spaces in there, adding texture, adding lighting, adding artwork, different forms of artwork. It just has a really, really cool vibe throughout it. Where sometimes you get the Moana out of it because they want to capture that, but it doesn't mostly smack you in the face. It's just kind of there. But there's only a few places where you're like, oh yeah, Moana's here, Moana's there. It feels just more island. It feels more laid back. We really enjoyed it. There are some things that we think they could have done better, but for the most part, we thought it was a home run, and the views from there are some of the best. The view we were blessed that we were pixie dusted into an incredible room. But the views were the best views we've ever had. I think at the Walt Disney World Resort from any stay that we've had. And we've stayed at Bay Lake Towers. We've stayed at Wilderness Lodge. We've stayed at the Riviera. By far the best view we've ever had over Seven Seas Lagoon, and you could just take the whole thing in and watch happily ever after. It was fantastic.
Yeah. And the use of the space in the rooms too was really good. I mean, first of all, again, that feel of the textures and the artwork flowed through into the rooms, but just they were really comfortable rooms. And the balconies and getting to sit out there, I felt like maybe they're not, but they felt a little larger than the traditional balconies over at the other part of the Poly. But it really was a great use of the space, and I think anybody staying there would enjoy that.
Yeah, I feel like, from the things I have seen, first of all, excellent positive spin. I love it all. Not spin, truth, but, just for us, it's like a different way to look at it. Fine, guys. But I think anytime I saw it, I was thinking like those views are what's going to get me in this building. The views from that building are what's going to push me to be like, fine, it's fine. I guess I can accept it and have to look at it a different way. And maybe that's how we have to look at it. It's an extension of the Poly. It's not the Poly, but it's like this other extension of it, and it's not going to be the same, and it's meant to be different and have a different feel to it.
As far as your reservations, both of you, I'm going to go back to an episode of Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz from a few months ago. I can't give you the exact date, but it was right around the time when it was the anniversary of the debut of the yacht and the beach club. And I remember you guys saying, ooh, we were there and that's terrible. That should not be there. That doesn't belong there. And now it is one of your favorite resorts. I'm not saying that the Island Tower is going to do that for you, but let's just all remember that at that point.
I mean, it's a good point, and we will use our words against us. Yes, when we were watching the boardwalk, especially be built from the beach club, going, this is going to ruin everything. We can't see MGM from here anymore. We love that area so much.
I mean, the other good thing about the tower is it is right there on the same property as the original. So, and Jen, I know you've talked about the smells of the Poly and things like that, and you can still get that, and it just is a nice flow of getting to go actually into two types of realms of Polynesian or or Hawaii feels and still get to have that because it's right there.
Just have to look at it like island hopping.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
And by the Moana that's in the splash pool there for the kids is incredible. I mean,
Right.
it's so it's like the cartoon jumped into the splash pool. And
Yeah,
there.
you'll
It
be
is
on it for
really,
sure.
really good. Yeah, you'll be taking pictures on it, guaranteed.
Fine, just suck us
Get
in
your
with
right
Moana while
pose.
you're on it.
No, and I'm glad that, because not that we've ever been, because we went to the Polynesian when we were a kid, so we were like, we don't need to go to Hawaii, we don't need to ever travel there. I've been to Maui once, but when they were building it, the way I was trying to convince myself that it was going to be okay was, no, it's like Waikiki Beach. I think that's the thing they're going for. So yeah, to kind of describe it, even just to say Hawaiian rather than Polynesian is a little mind trick I need in order to get by.
There you go.
We're here for you, Frank.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need
Just trick ourselves into things. Thanks, guys, for supporting us in that.
Now, is there a place to get Dole Whip in the tower, or is it still over at the Polynesian? These are the important questions.
No, they do not have. I mean, you can
the
get
bar?
in Wailulu. Can you get a Dole Whip there? I know you can get the Dole Whip Sunday at the Wailulu Bar and Grill. As far as an actual Dole Whip, I don't know if you can get a Dole Whip there.
Okay.
We did not. Jury's out. We don't know. We did not get.
It was cold when we went.
Yeah.
It was very cold.
We did it right there in that
So
that
cold.
one month period
Yeah.
here in Florida where it's really, really frigid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dole Whip wasn't on our
I get it.
on our tongues that day.
So to speak. All right, Jen, before I pivoted to the West Coast, is there anything I need to address in the here now, or have I covered the 3 to 5 topics we were going to do?
I don't even know what was going through your head, so I was just going with it. So you tell me if you have more going on.
No, I think we're good. So Tom and Michelle, who have become my Disneyland experts
Yes.
over the years since we started this podcast, in the 7 years that we've been saying we're going to get to Disneyland eventually. It's happening for one of us, Jen.
Yes.
Finally. I think just to frame it, okay. So we have a travel day. I have 3 park hopper days. And then a travel day with a princess breakfast there before we go to the airport. So that's the inn. I have dining reservations. I have Trader Sam's on the arrival day. I have Blue Bayou. I have Lamplight Lounge brunch per your suggestions. I have is it Carthay? How do I say Carthay Circle there?
That's it.
Is
Yeah,
that
they
correct?
circle.
And then I think on the last day where we were kind of trying to keep it flexible, I think I do have a Fantasmic package associated with there is a Mexican restaurant in Disneyland.
Rancho El
proper.
Zocalo.
Yes. So that is currently in hold. Not that I want to see Fantasmic, but the kid has never seen Fantasmic. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it that way. So that's kind of the framework.
To let go of your grudge against Fantasmic, so you might as well do it in Disneyland.
You've seen Fantasmic all the time.
No, but I don't have a thing.
I have a
towards
grudge.
it.
No, I have a grudge. So, Tom and Michelle, right? There's part of me that wants like the historical, to experience the original vibes and all of that. There's that part of me. We talked about it on a Pockets episode a few years back. The Pockets at Disneyland. I want that part of it, but I also got to hit all the rides. I got to get on the Matterhorn right away. Indiana Jones. Where do I start? What do I do?
Are you starting at Disneyland or are you starting at
Yes.
California Adventure?
Yeah. So the plan is the first park hopping day, so to speak, we want to tackle the main park, and then the middle day is California Adventure. And we figure whatever's left will bounce back and forth on the third day.
Sounds good.
Well, first of all, prepare yourself because it's going to seem much smaller. I mean, we have to preface this with everybody. If you're used to Walt Disney World, you're going to Disneyland, it's going to feel a lot smaller. You're going to look at that castle and go, wow, it's even smaller than I thought. But it's beautiful in its own way. It's just, it's not when compared to Cinderella Castle, Sleeping Beauty Castle, Disneyland is very small. But the intimacy that you're going to get from this park, from both parks, is going to be to your benefit, especially somebody who, maybe you don't plan as much, although apparently you're doing some significant planning for this.
Yay me.
But these parks they ease, and the Disneyland is easier to plan for because everything is so compact, and easier to get around. Like, Walt Disney World is a beast to try and get everything done throughout that entire area. It takes up so much, and you really need to plot it out. Disneyland, you can kind of wing it. I mean, yes, it's good to have some definite things in place, but you can kind of wing it as you go along.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I mean, again, going in with the mindset when you're entering Main Street is, pause and take it in. This is Walt's place, right? This was where Walt walked and what he imagined it, and obviously for a lot of reasons it was going to be smaller scale, but that's how things start anyways. But I think going down and looking around and really getting that vibe will start getting you into saying, wow, this is pretty special, because this changed everything, as we know, with theme parks, and seeing it then is really pretty special. And knowing that those buildings were the original buildings that were there, and that there's so much of that history that's there that you get to see it and feel it and smell it, because everything they said about the smells is true. And, they are piped into the streets and everything to intentionally entice you and get you into that vibe. But like Tom said, it's easy to navigate. And one of the other things that I think you'll notice is there's so much in a little bit of space. So you get to do so much, like what here at Walt Disney World, you might have to experience 2 or 3 parks to get each of those attractions. They're all in one, and so it's just like, okay, if I can't get on this attraction right now, I can just turn around and there's this other one. And, it's just pretty phenomenal that you get to do that. And you also get to do some things that may no longer be at Walt Disney World, that may have turned into a Pooh ride or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Toad, I'm so excited. I think that, there's definitely that first impact. I think is gonna be like mind blowing to me. I think in terms of, as we've been talking a little bit more and now getting into the nitty gritty of just like attractions, and, even though it might not be a must do, it's been there for so long, so I want to do it. And, other attractions, like we talk about the Jungle Cruise, like Jen and I are not big Jungle Cruise people, but I'm like, I know the stories from the Imagineering, story where they brought in the trees and they were like, there's part of me that's like, I want to do the Jungle Cruise. And Mrs. Dillo's like, you want to do the Jungle Cruise? And I'm like, I think I have to for historical sense. I don't know what, in terms of attractions that are at both parks, where do you sit? What do you recommend as like the greater attractions to do?
Pirates.
Even though they are in Florida. Yeah.
Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
It's got
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
Caribbean, got it. Okay.
It has an extended story at the beginning that you don't get at Walt Disney World, and it's kind of eerie.
All right.
It's a much longer attraction at Disneyland. The story flows better. It's for one thing, and the reason for this is that it was always meant to be built at Disneyland. It was an afterthought. Well, they weren't going to put a Pirates attraction at Disney World. So they're like, when people realized they didn't have it there and they needed to build it, so they built it, but it's not nearly as good. There's a lot of things at Walt Disney World that are better than Disneyland. Pirates is not one of them, in our opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of the other attractions that are at both, that it's still worthy to see. Small World, it's going to be smaller. It does have some characters in it,
Some IP.
The old IP.
So I know some people are, have feelings about that. But if you've ever ridden in one of the boats with a little kid who says, "Mommy, there's Ariel," and gets super excited, and you feel, oh my God, I'm experiencing this attraction through that kid's eyes, then you're like, oh, that makes sense. Very good.
And that's why it's there. Jen, if they ever put IP characters into It's a Small World in Florida, how would you feel?
Absolutely not. I mean, maybe we would have to see what it is and see what the reasoning was. And, maybe I would be open-minded to it. I would have to watch Tom for a few mornings and really just settle into the positivity of it all. But a question I had for pirates, are the smells the same?
Yeah, it's all there. It's all there. Smells are there. There's an extra drop in Pirates, so be prepared for that. In California, it's just the storyline. Like I said, it's a longer attraction. You have a build up at the beginning when you're going to the Blue Bayou, so you're going to see this. But yeah, there's the bayou that you kind of sail through your way on your way to the Caribbean. On the attraction, you cruise through the Caribbean.
Oh.
You take the ride through the Caribbean.
Everyone's got their own rule.
But no, it's great. I'm going to tell you another attraction that you might be surprised to hear that I think you should do at Disneyland. That it's whether you do it at Walt Disney World is whatever. The Tomorrowland Speedway at Magic Kingdom. You don't need to do that there. I mean, you may like it. The kids like it. We like to do it with our son, Scott. He loves it to death. And so we'll do it all the time. The Autopia at Disneyland is much better version. It's longer. They used to have two separate tracks. They would have two versions of it, which they eventually combined into one. So it's it's a longer trip, and it goes through some trees and some areas. It's some pretty outdoor spaces. It's a better attraction to go see. I'm not going to say that this is the end all be all that you need to.
No, that's a good one.
But it's a better version for sure.
Yeah. And the monorail goes overhead. So it beeps its horn as it's.
Oh, that's cute.
It's right by the Matterhorn and everything. So you have the great views of the Matterhorn.
And the views. See, Jen's going to ask about the fumes.
Of course I am. So same question as I had for Pirates. This might be my same question at the end of everything you say is, are the smells the same at the Speedway?
Yes. They still have those gas engines there. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
While maybe you think of a couple more attractions that we can touch on, I want to tangent slightly. Tom, I think I know you have for sure. Have both of you been watching Star Wars Skeleton Crew?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're five. Well, I should say the 8-year-old and myself are 5 episodes in and loving it. And how to obviously it has a very Goonies vibe, but the way they weave in pirate life, so to speak, and really some people would say like, oh, you're just ripping off pirate stuff, but it does a really nice job of giving the pirate side in the Star Wars universe.
I love Star Wars stories that show, because for so many years we were focused on the Jedi, and everything was these massive important galaxy ending conflicts that were going on. Everything was so life and death with the entire universe. And this is something more simple, it may be bigger for all we know as we get through this thing. There may be a bigger storyline here, but it's more looking into a different aspect that you didn't get really a good peek on. You do get a peek into some of the pirate life if you go into, Frank, I know you watch Rebels, so Hondo. You probably haven't seen the Clone Wars yet. I don't know if you've watched any of that. Yeah. So you get a little bit of that, but it's only bits and pieces of it. So it isn't nice, but yeah, I love that they took Star Wars and put it right in the middle of an early 80s Spielberg movie. You can pick 5 or 6 of them and you're just like, okay, this is what's going on, and they put them all together. I think it's just so fun. I think it's been one of the best shows that Disney's done related to Star Wars, for sure. In my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah, Michelle, you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know that the trailers at the beginning gave it justice, and the title itself, I don't know if it really helps the cause. Right. But yes, the story is amazing, and it is such a throwback of, like you said, Goonies is a great comparison.
Yeah, Jen, I think the kids would like. I mean, there's some intense stuff,
Yeah.
but I think and Tom, exactly what you said is what the kid said to me on the walk to school this morning, where she was like, sometimes it's always about the Jedi. I like that it's not about the Jedi. I'm like, yeah, right. You got it. You got the commentary down. So.
But to Michelle's point, I do feel like the title and the things I was seeing about it leading up to it, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it at some point, whatever. But in the last week or two, even of just the more I see people talking about it and what they're saying, and the more I see about it, I'm like, well, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm more, I want to see what's happening. But I do know that since we're in the Star Wars world, I can't say that with my Long Island accent. Star Wars world. Frank, for you, one of your biggest debates was whether or not to do Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland versus Disney World. Tom, Michelle, what are your thoughts on Galaxy's Edge?
Well, even if you ended up not doing the attractions, you need to go in there. You need to experience, because it does have different entrances, and so it has a little bit of a different flow going in that actually I prefer. I think the biggest aha is when you're walking out and you're like, oh, that's right, we're at Disneyland still. Because you get so immersed in over at Batu, but you come out and you're at, you're not at Hollywood Studios, right? You're at Disneyland, and it's just kind of like, wow. And if there are fireworks going on, that's a great place to go watch the fireworks. Go out there somewhere like near the Millennium Falcon or Docking Bay and watch the fireworks. They have music specially to accompany the fireworks in that area. It's magical.
No, no going in that there's not always fireworks going off in Disneyland for multiple reasons, many of which we've learned about recently.
Right.
There's that reason, but also, I mean, are you staying at Disneyland Hotel?
Didn't mention it. No, I'm staying at Pixar Place, which is why I have the meals at the other two hotels, is because I did want to see. I'll make sure I saw all three.
Right. So you're going to see when you're up there that you're right in the middle of a neighborhood. Like that's part of it. There's sound, noise ordinances and everything else. It's like, for Disneyland to work with the community around them, that's like, okay, we're not going to shoot off fireworks every single night.
Right.
But then also the fire issue. So even if it is a night where there's planned fireworks, if the winds are too high, they want you. But that's why they perfected the projections there, because they know they still want to do nighttime spectaculars, but they may not be able to do fireworks all the time. So the projections there up and down Main Street, USA, on the castle, at Small World, over at the Rivers of America, they have a water screen there. They put projections on there too. They're always excellent. So know that if you want to watch it. But yeah, the fireworks over the Millennium Falcon and the spires at Batu are excellent, and really something to experience and see the fireworks in a different way. As far as Galaxy's Edge, there's 3 entrances there as opposed to the 2 out at #AlwaysMGM.
Thank you.
And in many ways they feel more natural because the way they enter in, you're coming from, Big Thunder area, so it feels more country that way, or you're coming now from Bayou country and past the the Hungry Bear Country Jamboree. I have to think of, because it's a different name now, but there's a long winding path there. It just feels like it flows a little better. Actually entering into as far as the land itself, it's pretty much, I mean, there's some things in small different places, but it's mostly a carbon copy outside of that. But you do get a different vibe. It's worth at least walking through and checking it out for sure.
Yeah, I did put in an Oga's reservation on my 3rd day, just as a way to, again, I put things in place to make sure I went to those areas rather than like, I don't have to go through a Galaxy's Edge. It's the same thing. I don't want to then be like, I should have went.
And they do have different food. They have some different dishes over at Oga's there too.
Oh, that's good to know.
So
yeah. That's helpful. So I'll touch on 3 other attractions here real quick. Jen, excellent segue from Skeleton Crew to
Oh, thanks so
Galaxy.
much.
Seamless.
It's like I've done this before.
He's like, here he goes on a tangent. How am I going to pull him back into what he's talking about?
Back to why we're here.
Haunted Mansion and Space and Thunder, I guess, or 3. Haunted Mansion can go either way for the kid, but she's obviously knowing that Thunder Mountain is closed for a year in Florida. She's like, I got to do Thunder Mountain. And then just your thoughts on maybe those 3 attractions.
Space Mountain is better at Disneyland. Space Mountain is way better at Disneyland. Your body will enjoy it more. For one thing, it's quite a bit smoother. The Matterhorn, I can't promise your body will enjoy that. I don't have much of a problem with it personally as a lot of people do coming off that attraction, off the Matterhorn. But I enjoy Space Mountain. You'll definitely have a smoother ride at Disneyland than you do at
better
Magic
sound
Kingdom.
system too.
Yeah, it's a better sound system. Haunted Mansion's I grew up around that exterior. I kind of love the mansion, the southern kind of plantation mansion look to it more the the northeastern look of but the attraction, I don't know on the inside. Sometimes I think the storyline plays out a little bit better at Walt Disney World than it does at Disneyland, but they're both great.
Yeah.
You're not going to go wrong either way with that. What was the other one?
No, that was it. Those 3.
Yeah. Big
Thunder Mountain. Yeah.
Big Thunder is Big Thunder. I don't know which one I prefer, Walt Disney World or Disneyland. I think Walt Disney World's might be a little bit better.
Really? I like them for different reasons, and some are things I don't want to do spoilers for. So, but, I mean, not tremendously different, but little things, little touches here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, although your body might not enjoy Matterhorn, your mind will, because it might help put a lot of your dreams at ease. Finally.
The many years of the Matterhorn, it will finally be. And I want to go there first, but I also don't want my body to hurt the whole trip. But I want to go there first.
It's not. I like roller coasters bother me for many reasons. I don't get. I mean, I know a lot of people say it wrecks them. I've never had that experience with the Matterhorn personally. Michelle.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I tense up a lot, and I giggling the whole way there.
No, old school wooden roller coasters, those are the worst on my body.
Yeah.
They mess me up pretty good.
Not enough alcohol in the world.
Two attractions I've never, well, not 2 attractions, but 2 of the attractions I've never been on. So Matterhorn is definitely on the list, and Indiana Jones is going to be on the list. Those are things I've eyed for many years. But there's all these other little dark rides that I haven't been on, and little old school Disneyland touches. What do I need to hit in that area? I've done the Pinocchio in Disneyland Paris, but I don't know if it's similar or not.
I think it is. I think it's the new Snow White that they've redone. It used to be scary. Now it's Enchanted Wish, I believe is what it is. Something like that. It's cute. It's good. You'll enjoy it. Mr. Toad, you got to do Mr. Toad. Peter Pan's Flight is Peter Pan's Flight. Yeah, it's great, but you want to wait in that line, you don't have to. You've done it.
Unbelievable that they both have that kind of
right.
Wow.
I would say
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland is
just because
must.
of it's a traditional kind of thing.
It is a must. It's a really good dark ride, and it goes inside and out. It's really cool. And it's right next to the Matterhorn too. So you're going to come outside and there's Matterhorn, and it's always great. The Storybook Canal Boats is kind of a fun.
That's
underrated.
Attraction.
Yes.
I would suggest going on that as well. That's really fun too.
Right. Yeah.
One other thing that you need to do, definitely take the train at some point. Take the Grand Circle train. If for no other reason, to go between Fantasyland and the main station at the end of Main Street USA, because there's something there that you won't, I'm not going to give it away, but it's something you won't see any place on the train at Walt Disney World at Magic Kingdom. So you, at least during that stretch, I would take the whole thing. At least do a Grand Circle tour. But definitely that stretch you need to do.
It calls out to the World's Fair.
Oh, all right. Oh, yeah. That's a must now.
You're going to have to be listening to this episode again while you're on the plane and take notes.
Yeah.
So that you can remember
You do it.
everything.
Also, not an attraction, but not a ride. Frank, this is something I think you'll love. And I've mentioned it to you before. There's a little theater that's as you're going to the hub, just off to the left of the castle. It's called the Royal Theater. They do shows there throughout the day. It doesn't really say much about them on the app. I looked at it just to be seeing what it is. But throughout the day, they'll have various shows, and they do retellings of Tangled and Beauty and the Beast there.
Oh.
And they have two guys. They're Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones. They come out and they reenact it, and one of the princesses and a couple of the characters will come out and kind of reenact it with them. There's a piano player. It's very much up your alley. It's very a cross between a Renaissance fair and vaudeville. And we will take it in every chance we get because it's that good. It's really fun, and highly recommend you check it out at some point during your trip.
And it is popular to the locals, so you need to line up for it. You wouldn't think that, but people do love it. And so, it's
a little theater. There's a place up front where they just have the ground, and all the kids come up and they sit up front near there. And then they have like, what is it? Like 6 rows of benches, maybe not even that many behind that, where everybody else sits and watches the show. And it's really entertaining and fun. And I think it'll be one of the things you'll come back and you'll say that was great. And that was old school Disney entertainment.
Yeah. And you'll wish that they had it at Disney World.
I feel like my memory is getting refreshed of us talking about it previously, but it definitely has not crossed my mind. And even just when I flipped through the guidebooks, as it were, it hasn't been something I landed on. So I'm glad you reminded me of that for sure. And to the other point of the intimacy of the park, that's what Mrs. Dillo is looking most forward to, because when we went to Universal in June, she just really liked the 2 parks on both sides, take a boat from one of the hotels, get off, you can pick, you can go back and forth. She just liked that intimacy. So that is something she's really looking forward to here. Am I going to feel the need to rush, or you think I can? I mean, it's the middle of February. Touring plan says it's 5. It's a number 5 for the days. Am I going to be able to take it easy?
Yes and no. There'll be times where you'll need to rush to certain things. I've got a reservation. I've got, there's the short wait at this attraction. I really want to get on it. You're going to rush a little bit, but everything is so compact. I think you can really kind of take your time and explore as well.
And remind me, are you there weekdays or weekends?
My 3 park days are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So
it's once 3 p.m. hits, it gets busier because locals really do like to visit there. So that's one thing that you'll notice, that it fluctuates at that point. But I think midweek you're going to be pretty good.
That's good. Let's take it over to California Adventure. Cars Land is definitely, the must, I feel like. And, I'm because I'm a Tower of Terror fan, I'm curious to ride the Guardians version to see what it's like. Give me your favorites, your must-dos, whatever it is you want to talk about. Because I feel like I have been focusing on the main park in thinking about things and not have put that as much thought into California Adventure. So let me know what you think.
Well, probably with Cars Land is to take it all in. Do the kids rides, do Mater, do Luigi, go to the Cozy Cone, maybe buy something, popcorn, ice cream cone or something, but just really go look at all the detail that they put into that. Check out Flo's. Even if you're not going to eat there, you can definitely go over there. Although they do have really good shakes. Maybe a nice break in the afternoon or something like that. Listen to the music and get to realize that they came up with a backstory for Flo there, and just to realize you feel like you're in that movie. I mean, I have to say it's similar immersiveness to Harry Potter. In terms of being in the movie, wouldn't you say?
It is still to me the most immersive land that Disney has created in an American park anyway. Say what you want about Pandora, it's great. Galaxy's Edge, fantastic. This feels like you've been dropped right in the middle of Cars. If you like the movie, even if you don't like the movie, if you've watched it and it kind of accepted that world, you will feel like you're in that world. Michelle.
Well, you have to set your alarm and be there at dusk.
100%.
You cannot miss that.
Make sure that that's part of your.
It's something that you just don't get that experience anywhere else.
Do all the attractions there. The racers are great. It's really, really fun. It's a combination. I mean, it's a more fun version, in my opinion, than a Test Track. It doesn't go as fast as Test Track, but it's the same concept behind it. A little bit of dark ride, a little bit of thrill ride. But the storyline around it is better and just really enjoyable. It's also, we were mentioning flows, even just a place to sit. You always like pockets, a place to sit, maybe grab a shake, maybe just sit for a little bit. If you go out the side over by the racers, there's a patio out there. There's some tables. Most people don't realize that they're there. So you can kind of get a spot there and you can kind of sit and relax for a little bit. Enjoy shake. If you get some food, have some food, watch the racers go by, enjoy that backdrop that is around the racers, which is so
impressive,
phenomenal and crazy good. It's a good place to just take a little time in. That's if there's one place at California Adventure you need to hit, it's Cars Land, and you're going to want to hit it over and over again.
Oh, man.
Spend the day there.
Yeah. I mean, it really is incredible. Just like I said, just taking it all in, because there's so much detail, and you'll see, oh yeah, that's Sarge's. That's, oh my God, that's the little gift shop. And
yeah, I mean, I like, to your point, I think the world is really what I love most about it, and just how, especially that first movie, just how much detail and how they you don't say cinematography too much in association with an animated film, but with that, it just, the pictures invoked there were really, that's what I'm looking forward to there.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you could fault the other two movies. I mean, you could fault them for some of their scripts, but more than anything else, they didn't spend enough time in Radiator Springs going back there.
Right.
They created such a wonderful world there to explore. Right. I felt like they if they ever do another one, I don't know if they will do another Cars movie, but if they do, they got to go back and spend more time in Radiator Springs.
Right. That's a curious question too, because I mean, I feel like there's always money to be made with that franchise, even though the sequels weren't as strong as, say, the Toy Story sequels, or I think similar to what Jen and I have found surprising about Monsters going into Hollywood Studios, #always MGM, is that the sequel and the Disney Plus series, as much as we love that first movie and the world it created, and we love the laugh floor, there's that kind of like, but are people is it that popular? I don't know. But Cars, I feel like, no, you can go back to that whenever you want.
Yeah, it's all about the world building and what they do with that space. Do they create a lot of what we saw? One thing I'll say about, again, Monsters University, was the script great? Was the storyline the best? Maybe not, but man, it has some of the best visuals you'll see in a film. Right. There. It always impresses me when that thing pops on. That Monsters University, and the colors are popping off of all the trees and the
that's a fair point.
Yeah,
it's very similar. Guardians, what are your feelings on the change that came?
Well, Michelle hasn't had a chance to experience it yet. I'm the one who's done it. What I'll say about the Tower of Terror at Disneyland was never as good as the one at #always MGM. Right. They don't have the entire ride system at the beginning, where you're kind of going through a bit of a dark ride to begin with before you actually do it. You just get on and you go. So they needed to come up with something a little bit different, because you don't have that buildup that creates that in full storyline. I think if you like Guardians, then it's fun. I mean, you're going to enjoy this attraction. It's got the music, it's got the characters. There is a little bit of a storyline that you're following through on there. Just the walk through to it, you get the little artifacts through that the collector has brought in. I really enjoy it. I think it's great. It's not as good as the Tower of Terror at the studios at #AlwaysMGM.
Yeah. I mean, the drop, it's a forced drop, you know, multiple times. I liked it as a Tower of Terror, but
yeah.
I think that it was okay to do the change because it was never as good an attraction as the one. That's why I felt like it worked okay. Well, I mean, it stands out. I mean, it's a good thing that they built Avengers Campus next to it, because it was kind of weird when that building was just there and it felt kind of out of place. But now, since they built Avengers Campus nearby and they're even adding to that here in the future, it kind of makes more sense than it did before.
Interesting. I mean, that's a good place to go next, is because that is something you don't have in Disney World. And I feel like you guys might be a little bit into it. So speak to that.
They put a lot in a small space. I'll give you that. One of the things that makes it really special is the amount of characters that do come out and interact with the people who are just walking through. It's very much like constant. And so, you know, each time you go, you may experience different ones, but they all put on a really good show. They all do great interactions. And sometimes they just do even like a lot of one-on-ones. Like we were walking through and I think we were trying to actually get to some place and Tom got stopped and by, it was Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel,
right? And she just like went on and on and on.
Chatted my ear off. It was great.
But I mean, yes, I mean, so unique. So, I mean, I know you all talk about how you like characters walking through, and that's what this is. There's a lot of characters walking through. Yes, they have places for meet and greets, for, you know, photo ops, but just in the area itself, they come out a lot. They send out multiple ones who banter together. They do some that are shows. So it's a lot of variety there that really helps with that immersive feeling that they have there. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
So if you're going there and expecting whiz bang, I'm going to be in the world of Marvel and I'm going to do everything, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that. I mean, yes, the Spider-Man attraction's fun. Guardians of the Galaxy is cool. It's a place to chill and meet characters and take in the vibe and sit back and watch interactions. We love to just sit there and watch the characters interact, especially with kids, you know, how they get down and they really, really sync up with them. And it's really fun to just watch that. But that's the kind of vibe I get from it. And now I know that they realize this and they're adding more there. And I don't know what it's going to be like because they are starting the construction there. It may have already started, but they're starting construction around there. So I don't know what the situation is going to be there. But what we like about it is when we'll just find a place, take a seat, and see what characters will pop up and what happens around you. And, you know, you get the Marvel music about it, which it really adds to it. The whole soundtrack is the first time we got in there and the Avengers theme played right as we walked in.
I cried.
It was the most amazing thing that we've ever had.
That's really cool.
That's hyperbole, but
the Spider-Man attraction is awesome. Yeah, that's definitely worth.
I mean, I'm always like Spider-Man is like this, like it's fine. I don't think of myself as a comic book person or a superhero, but like there's always been Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, all three of them just like kind of hover, you know. But when the Spider-Man ride opened in Islands of Adventure, like I was like, oh my God, how much I love Spider-Man. Where did this come from? I don't understand. So I look forward to the ride because I have those feelings that I'm not really sure why the connection is as deep as it is.
It's fun. It's a shooter, you know. It's one of those where you're competition. I think Toy Story Mania, you know, but you're shooting webs.
But it's intense. It is like
it's a
not
workout.
Like,
it's a workout. You're going to be working out those biceps doing
the
that.
balloons. No, they're growing and they're coming at you.
Nice. That sounds awesome.
Follow up to the discussion between Tom and Ms. Marvel. Will she be appearing as a guest on the podcast anytime soon? Would you pass a card and be like, listen, we can continue this conversation?
Right.
She may be busy rounding up some young Avengers, but
Sure.
if we can try and get a hold of her, maybe we'll have her.
Let's talk. You want to talk, Jen? What do you want to talk about next? You want to go resorts or you want to go food? I think.
Oh, I have resorts as I got to make sure to ask about those because. But it's up to you. It is your trip. What do you want to talk about?
I'm trying to think of which way I want to go. Let's talk about the resorts first. As I said, we were staying in Pixar Place, but there's part of me that definitely wants to see the Disneyland Hotel and Trader Sam's for that matter, because of course Trader Sam's. But and then we're having the Princess Breakfast at the Grand Californian on the final morning. Just what do you like? Where have you stayed? What do you suggest to just roam around those 3 resorts?
Definitely the most prettiest, I guess I would have to say, is the Disneyland. It's just so unique. You go in their lobby, they have a lot of memorabilia there to see. They have a little miniature monorail by the pool. I mean, you just feel Disneyland there. And the Grand Californian is pretty. It is not the Grand Floridian. It doesn't even have that same vibe.
Closer to the Wilderness Lodge.
It's closer to the Wilderness Lodge, but not as grand as that. You know, again, having your expectations to be smaller scale on that. But it's definitely nice. And you know, it has its beauty and things. And Pixar Place, we haven't stayed there since they converted the theming. But we did stay there multiple times before that and really enjoyed it. And they have a cool pool area as well. You can watch the fireworks from there if you're there at night. Yeah.
And if you, depending on I don't know what room level you got, but if you have a theme park view, you can look right into, you wake up every morning with the sun rising over Disney California Adventure. And that's always cool, you know, looking over the bay there and the Incredicoaster and all that. And that's fun. We haven't been there since they've changed it over to Pixar, but we did enjoy it. We stayed there many times and enjoyed that. Disneyland Hotel, just the cool classic vibe of Disneyland. Really like it. The Trader Sam's area, there's the bar, but there's also an outdoor area that has tiki torches lit at night, and that's really nice vibe. And the new tower, for the new DVC tower there's some little things that'll happen with that building in the evening too that's worth checking out if you're there at night. Cool. And then the Grand Californian, it feels very much like a pared down version of the Wilderness Lodge. It doesn't have that grand lobby. It's a large lobby, but it's not that grand lobby, but there is kind of that vibe. There's a nice fireplace in there. And then their pool area is really nice. I mean, to go out and check it out because they have a lot of pine trees and all this stuff. It is a beautiful hotel. The best part of that hotel is its entrance right into right. You just walk out and you're going right into Disney California Adventure Park. But they're all good. Enjoy them all for different reasons. But there are many, many great places to stay out there. But since this is your first trip to Disneyland, I'm glad you're staying at one of the actual Disneyland resorts. Yeah,
that was definitely I definitely debated between the Disneyland resort because of the classicness and Pixar Place because the most recently, but the theme park view is I think what we put in for. So that'll be
great.
Nice.
You'll love that.
Yes,
You'll love that.
That'll be great. And Trader Sam's there is the best. Much better.
And I'm kind of glad that we're kind of when we land in the early afternoon and have like a 4:30 reservation. So just to kind of ease in, but see some classic Disneyland stuff that's the hope too in the early portion of the trip.
Right. Nice. And then you have that whole new the downtown Disneyland area is right there as well. Which we haven't seen it since they've opened up all the new stuff, but there's a lot of great shops, ice cream places. Just think about again, a smaller version of Disney Springs, much smaller. But kind of that vibe too. You can kind of go in there, get some food, get a drink, whatever, it's just kind of a cool place to walk around and peruse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so much. I'm just trying to. If there's one meal, and maybe it's not at a reservation I have, it can be anywhere. If there's one meal I have to have, or one food I have to try,
Are you doing meal or snack? I feel like they're very different.
I'm gonna do meal first. I'll do meal first. If you want to do, do you need to hear snack too?
I think I need to hear a
You
snack.
want to do both?
as
We'll do
well.
one of
A
each.
favorite snack and a favorite meal.
Okay.
Okay.
If there was a favorite meal and a favorite snack that I have to try, what would you choose? What would you recommend to me?
Well, considering you got the brunch at Lamplight, that is key because that is an amazing. Similarly at Lamplight, but they have what's called the boardwalk dining. So it's the outside, it's a walk up, it's not a reservation. That is a cool area to just sit, have cocktail, mocktail, get nice views, but that's where you can get the lobster nachos.
Oh yeah,
that are killer. And I think over at Disneyland, you can't go to Disneyland and not get a corn dog.
I mean,
The
that
little
is
red wagon on Main Street. It's the best.
Yeah. Corn Dog Castle also sells them over
Over at
DCA.
California Adventure.
Yeah, the corn dogs, the hand dipped corn dogs are a must if you haven't experienced them. You need to do that.
Are they the same corn dogs at both locations?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. They're just not the same as Walt Disney World.
No.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Neither are I mean, we're not churro people, but the churros are elevated. The food at Disneyland is far better than at Walt Disney World across the board. I'm not saying that Walt Disney World doesn't have great spots with good food. They do, but across the board, and you're going to get misses at Disneyland too, but you're going to find better options at Disneyland for good food.
I'm not a corn dog person, but I feel like everyone has talked about these Disneyland corn dogs for my whole life. That I feel like this is it. If I'm gonna ever, this is it. Corn dogs.
Are you planning to see the World of Color?
I the dining packages didn't line up the right way, but I do want I want to try to see it for sure. Nighttime parades I can't turn down.
Yeah.
You recommend spots?
They do have a dessert package.
Yeah.
As well as a dining package.
Our
The
friend
dessert
Lexi
one, you're
did.
actually experiencing it during the show, whereas the dining, it's like the Phantasmic. You get your assigned area to stand.
Right.
Or sit.
Or
you're actually Phantasmic out there at
Phantasmic,
Disneyland.
yeah, you get to sit.
You're sitting out.
on the
It
ground.
takes place on the rivers of America.
Yeah.
You're sitting out there by it. No stands. You're sitting on the ground. So just know that going in. You're sitting on the ground. But it is on the rivers of America, which is nice. And also, the boat that comes out is the Mark Twain. It's not, the little steamboat Willie boat. It's actually the Mark Twain, and that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that is like, there's so many things about, I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I want to kind of do it here for the first time, because it is on the rivers of America. It is going to look different. And then the bleachers will feel like an easier thing.
Yes.
When the kid eventually is like, I want to see Phantasmic. Get over this. The inevitability of that. And for World of Color, I mean, is there any other, do you recommend a dessert package first? That would be the way to go.
Well, Michelle is vertically challenged, so she recommends a package like that for everything, because otherwise she might be trying to peek over 4 or 5 different people and only seeing like the top level of it. So we always do that. We always
that too. But it is a nice experience. I mean, you get to sit. You're either at low tables, or then they have high tops at, so that they get people who can see over them. But yeah, I mean, it's like dinner and a show only. Right. And they say dessert, but there is like cheese and crackers too, and some
savory
fruit,
options.
some savory options. And it's just kind of more comfortable that you're sitting and just enjoying the show with that. Yeah. But certainly, yeah, I mean, you can still enjoy the show without that, but it's a splurge that it's kind of a cool thing.
No, our friend Lexi recommended the dessert package recently, and I had looked at it and I was debating it back and forth. Are there recommended spots that you would prefer more than others for World of Color?
Well, they do, it depends. Like if you like to be really close, but it's very wet. It can be really, really wet, but they'll label it as wet zone. But when they label it as wet zone, they're not kidding.
Oh God.
So I think being a little further back, but the more center is better.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like
Be as central as possible so we can take it all in, because they do things on the Mickey wheel, the Pixar Pal around. They do things on the Incredicoaster as well, usually. And then some of the angles, if you're on too much on the side, you don't get the full projections on the water spray there.
Right.
So the more central you can be, the better off. But you can find a good spot out there if you make the effort. If they're doing 2 shows a night and you can stay up, the second show is always much better. You can always get a great spot in the second show. Everybody leaves after the first show.
No, that's helpful. That's good. As we cross over the hour mark here, like we do when we're all talking to one another, is there something that I have left out that you feel like you must talk about? Now is the time.
So I'm gonna have that song in my head.
Yeah,
right?
I'll just say, look, you're going to want to rush. You're going to want to do all the attractions. You want to do anything. Take your time and realize, and you've already mentioned it, Frank, you're in the spots where Walt Disney was walking the grounds. Stop by the firehouse, take a nod at his lamp up at his apartment up there.
Yeah.
Dare you not to tear up.
I know that many of the attractions you'll be riding on, he rode on as well, which it can't be said of Walt Disney World outside of Carousel Progress. Many of the attractions there he was on. That's what it's all about to me at Disneyland. That's what sets Disneyland a little bit more apart, at least for the main park, for sure.
Right. There's something to be said, although you'd miss the front, but if you go back to Disneyland later, taking the monorail in, it takes you into Tomorrowland. So you miss that Main Street, but it's just kind of cool.
Think about the monorail coming into Epcot and how you kind of have that swooping lead in through and kind of get that view of the entire, all of World Showcase and all that whole area and everything. Right. That's kind of the way it kind of winds around, goes by the Matterhorn. You get this great view of all of Disneyland, or at least that portion of Disneyland Park. And it's more an attraction than an actual form of transportation like it is at Walt Disney World, but it's worth doing it at least, even if you just hop on it and take the whole trip around and come back, doing it at least once on your trip just for those views.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good to know.
Yeah. But I mean, just realizing you're not going to get to see it all, but you can enjoy all that you see.
And breathe through it. Breathe through the idea that I'm not going to see it all.
Right. Just appreciate all the little touches that they have there. That's just so incredible.
Oh, and the one queue that's actually better. There aren't a lot of queues that are better at Disneyland than at Walt Disney World, but the queue for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is far better at Disneyland.
And that's what I've heard too. I was like, I had no plans to go on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and then someone said recently about the queue, and I was like, oh.
Interesting.
I don't really talk about queues very often, but that's one that you'll enjoy if you do get in that queue.
Be like, I just want to go on the Storybook Canals.
It's fine. It's a good time. Good time.
All right, Jen, is there anything I've left off of the
list? Much like any time we talk to Tom and Michelle, I get the West Coast vibes, and I'm like, I need to plan a trip, and talking about Disneyland more only makes me want to do that even more. So usually once a year, as we're talking to Tom and Michelle, I'm like, I need to get back to California. When am I doing that? So maybe this year, now that we've met in person, sky's the limit.
That's right. That's it.
Exactly.
We met Tom and Michelle and opened the Pandora's box for me to go to Disneyland. That was it.
That's right.
She waited until we moved away from there to do it, but it's all good.
Details. There's details.
That's a fair point.
The big celebration, the 70th anniversary.
Oh yeah,
this year
coming up. Yeah,
so,
interesting.
Pretty exciting.
I have to dig up. I have a book that I received, I think, for the 30th anniversary from our grandmother. She brought back a 30th anniversary memorabilia
Wow.
book.
Nice.
I think it says the 30th on it, but I think that was the year she went. So I'll have to see if I can dig that up prior to the trip.
Yeah.
Here. But a good merch, I guess, is there? I got it's an emporium, but is there a secret retail?
Anything that says Disneyland on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What Michelle? I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to get that. Also, like, I mean, that's straightforward.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like,
I can't think of anything that's like the shop's very similar to Walt Disney World, but you do find things that you wouldn't see there. I think in the resorts you might see, like especially Disneyland Hotel, they have some things there that you don't always see at the parks.
Yeah.
Inside their little gift shop there. So I think that's always a good place to check out.
There's also, because since you'll be walking through downtown Disney fairly often, there's a big gift shop in there. I think it's World of Disney, but there's a big shop that's right there as well. That is another spot that you can hit up. Like, hey, I forgot to get something on the way back to the hotel. You can always, there's a ton of stuff in there as well. But there's a lot of, it's like Walt Disney World. There's a lot of great big shops and a lot of littler shops that it's always worth perusing because you never know what kind of little treasure you might find.
Right.
Yeah. I'll give you a little tip that I'm saving for a little later down, but I'll give it since it's a Disneyland is, although they don't have package pickup like what we remembered that to be, they do allow at a lot of their shops, and I can send you which ones, where you can, if you've purchased something even from a different shop, leave it there and pick it up later.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
So they won't deliver it there, but you can drop it off there and they'll hold on to it.
Jen and I are still mad we didn't get our Bunsen and Beaker Epcot Food and Wine shirt because we were like, we'll come back, and we didn't come back. And that's always how it goes. But all right, so this is definitely this was necessary for the lead up here for my first trip to Disneyland. So thank you both so much for and just keep feeding me information along the way.
Did we just swirl things
keep
even
hitting
worse?
this up. Well, you got them. We got your information.
But for you both, now is the best time of your lives to promote all the things and all the places that we can find you, because I feel like there's so many more places now that we all go to.
So many places. Of course, we are the Hyperion Adventures Podcast, Tom, Michelle. The best place to find, we're on all your podcatchers, but the best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. We are on social media. We're on Twitter
X
at Hyperion Podcast and on Blue Sky. And we're on Twitter for now. On Blue Sky.
As we all are.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. And yes, as you've mentioned, I'm doing a silly little morning show every day on our YouTube channel.
Exactly. Don't Dillo your morning positivity.
We're at Hyperion Adventures Podcast on YouTube. And if anybody ever wants to reach out to us, we can find us at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventurespodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for your time and your wisdom and your knowledge and all the things over these last almost 7 years, and definitely have helped craft my brain to be ready finally to go to Disneyland. Jen, is it? I just want to ask one more time. Have I left out anything? Because my brain is swirling.
I think probably we might have to do like a post recap with Tom and Michelle. Be like, remember when you told me about those 5 things? I didn't do them. What do I do now?
Second trip. Next trip.
I know. We'll see how I'm excited. Oh my gosh.
You're ready to go.
We're so happy for you getting to go. It's pretty exciting. And we're looking forward to hearing your report out on it.
All right. Well, that will wrap things up here on Theme Park Thursday. Until next time, that is Tom and Michelle of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. She's Jen. I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces. The Dillo's Diz podcast is hosted by Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. Music produced by Matt Harvey. Logos and video production courtesy of Snidillo Studios. Dillo's Diz Resort is our Patreon with tiers starting as low as $1 per month. You can visit dillosdizresort.com to learn more. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X Twitter, and Facebook at Dillo's Diz. Check us out on YouTube by visiting youtube.com/DillosDiz. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. We also have merch available on TeePublic and Etsy. For all this and more, visit our one-stop shop, DillosDiz.com. Dillo's Diz Podcast 2025.